very much.
Chair recognizes Ms. Stansbury from New Mexico.
All right, well, start by saying that this hearing is making America less safe for our children and LGBTQ and people of color across this country. There are over 14 million Americans in this country who currently self-identify as LGBTQ. 20% of our young people who identify as queer have taken actions to harm themselves. Hearings like this, and I'm sorry, witnesses like the ones that have been called here today who are spewing hateful rhetoric, as are my colleagues across this dais today, are making this country unsafe for our children. They are making this country a less just place by perpetrating and repeating hateful speech. Now, we know here in the United States that nearly 45% of Americans who identify as LGBTQ have experienced discrimination in the workplace, and about 20% actually report that they have faced physical harassment. Of the lawsuits that have been filed by the EEOC, 35% of them are based on sex, 34% are based on disability, and 17% are based on race. And of the reported cases, over 40% of Black Americans report that they experienced discrimination in the workplace. This is not some woke agenda. This, as Childish Gambino says, this is America. So why is the GOP sitting here spending committee resources trying to tell us that this is just some made-up agenda? Why are they bringing folks here to perpetrate these lies and attacks on people that we know have faced systemic discrimination for generations here in this country? It's because it's being funded. It's being funded by donors. It's being funded by organizations that are trying to advance this agenda. And it's being funded and supported by candidates right here in this Congress, as well as other institutions. Now, Mr. Berry, I appreciate that you've come before this committee, but I want to ask you just a few quick yes or no questions. Is it true that you clerked for Justice Alito, yes or no?
Yes.
And you helped to draft Chapter 18 of the Project 2025 report, correct?
I was the lead author, yes.
You were the lead author. And your law firm, in fact, filed an amicus in the Students for Fair Admission case before the Supreme Court, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. That's right. So one of our key witnesses that's been called here today, and again, no disrespect, but is part of a larger effort in front of the courts, in front of Congress, in front of state legislatures across the country to undermine and chip away at the rights of Americans. Affirmative action, voting rights, LGBTQ rights, abortion rights, women's rights, fueling anti-trans and anti-LGBTQ legislation across the country, and making it less safe and less free for our children, for our families, and for all Americans. I represent the state of New Mexico, and I want to say that we have taken action. We have protected reproductive rights, we have protected gender-affirming care, and we have passed one of the most comprehensive voting rights pieces of legislation in the country. And I will not stand here and sit silent while I hear this kind of hate being spewed in this institution. We have to stop the hate. I yield back.
Chair recognizes Mr. Burchett from Tennessee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I ask for unanimous consent to enter into the record